Welcome everyone to our latest explainer. I'm Leo, and today, wow, we are diving headfirst into a massive mystery and a real rabbit hole of a topic. We're looking at this wild intersection of modern culture wars, centuries-old constitutional law, and some absolutely huge internet conspiracies surrounding the British royal family. And keeping me grounded, as she always does, is my amazing co-host, Maya. Maya, are you ready for this one?
Oh, I'm ready, Leo. Let's see if we can actually separate the real royal history from all the digital rumors.
So here is the highly provocative question that's been just blowing up online recently with so much intense energy. Is the British monarch secretly Muslim? I mean, if you've spent literally any time on social media lately, you've definitely seen some pretty wild claims popping up. Could there be something to it?
Well, that is exactly why we're going to look strictly at the documented historical record today. We are getting to the absolute bottom of why this specific rumor exists, where it actually came from, and what the real facts are regarding the crown and Islam. No random forum threads, Leo, just the receipts.
Fair enough. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're breaking it down into 5 parts. First, the recent Easter controversy. Second, we'll map out the anatomy of the rumor itself. Third, we examine the famous bloodline myth. Fourth, we dig into the truth of King Charles's actual relationship with Islamic culture. And finally, we unpack his massive constitutional duties.
All right, let's jump right into part 1, the Easter controversy. This was the immediate catalyst for all the recent public outrage.
Okay, Maya, just picture the palace communications from the spring of 2026. This is what really got people talking. Buckingham Palace issues these super warm, highly publicized statements celebrating the start of Ramadan and later Eid. They even opened up Windsor Castle to Muslims breaking their fast. But then Easter Sunday arrives, and crickets. Just a brief social media post. Absolutely no formal televised address from the king. You have to admit it looks incredibly suspicious to a lot of people.
And the critics were just incredibly vocal about it. Gavin Ashenden, who actually served as a chaplain to the late Queen Elizabeth II, so he's on the inside, he said, "When it's Christian, it's a platform for inclusivity. But when it's Islamic, it's exclusively Islamic." That captures exactly how so many people felt online. For them, the king's silence on arguably the most important Christian holiday felt like a total abandonment of the Christian majority in Britain. Okay, I hear the outrage, Leo, but let's take a breath and look at the actual historical context. A formal royal Easter address simply isn't a tradition, like, at all. The late Queen Elizabeth II only gave one official Easter message in her entire 70-year reign, and that was in 2020, right during the absolute peak of the pandemic lockdowns. So the king's silence wasn't some shocking break from tradition. It was literally just standard royal protocol. Okay. Maybe Easter is just protocol. But Maya, the rabbit hole definitely goes deeper. Which brings us to part 2, anatomy of a royal rumor. Just look at how this rumor escalates over time. It's crazy. Back in 1996, the Mufti of Cyprus shockingly claims Charles had secretly converted to Islam while in Turkey. Fast forward to 2024, and former U.S. Mayor Rudy Giuliani goes on national television suggesting Charles might literally be the Muslim monarch of England. And then by 2026, social media users are falsely claiming that Windsor Castle had been completely turned into a mini mosque.
It is honestly wild how fast internet rumors snowball. You can see right there how a narrative gets built piece by piece over decades, completely regardless of the fact that the palace has repeatedly come out and called these claims utter nonsense.
But Maya, these rumors don't just target King Charles directly. They stretch way, way further back in time. Let's look at part 3, the bloodline myth. All right, this is the ultimate theory I found while digging down this rabbit hole. There is a very persistent internet claim that the royal family is directly descended from the Prophet Muhammad. Supposedly, the timeline traces all the way back through an 11th century Muslim princess from Spain named Zaida who converted to Christianity. Her descendants supposedly married into European royalty, reached King Edward IV in the 15th century, and passed right down the line to Queen Elizabeth II. I mean, how wild is that? It's a highly compelling story, Leo, but unfortunately for the internet sleuths, it's a complete myth. This theory is almost always attributed to the highly authoritative Burke's Peerage, but when they were actually asked about it, Burke's Peerage explicitly denied ever having any proof of this connection. They stated very clearly that they were not the original source of the rumor. Historians widely consider the story of Princess Zaida's lineage to be a mix of supposition, guesswork, and medieval legend, rather than hard genealogical fact. Which brings us to part 4, Charles and Islamic culture. Because if the internet rumors of a secret conversion and a prophetic bloodline are totally baseless, what is the reality?
What is King Charles's actual documented relationship with Islamic culture?
Well, King Charles has been the royal patron of the Oxford Center for Islamic Studies for over 30 years now. This isn't some hidden, secret society. It's a highly public and celebrated part of his life's work. He has actively fostered dialogue, academic inquiry, and mutual understanding between the Islamic world and the West for decades. He really does have a profound, well-documented appreciation for Islamic culture. I mean, he even spent time learning Arabic specifically so he could read the Quran in its original text. Much of this stems from his deep interest in traditionalism, which is a philosophical school of thought believing that all the great global religions share universal, sacred truths that can actually help cure the modern world's problems. You know, that's actually way more fascinating than the conspiracies. He's not secretly converting in the shadows, he's just genuinely looking for universal truths out in the open. And looking at his actual record, he really hasn't been shy about this admiration at all. Over the decades, Charles has publicly praised the Quran's teachings on natural limits and environmental stewardship. Back in a famous 1993 speech, he championed the tolerance and compassion of medieval Islam. He's even advocated for the ethics of Islamic finance, suggesting its moral economy could actually teach Western financial markets a few things. He's undeniably a massive admirer of the faith.
Exactly. And that brings us to our final section, Part 5, Defender of Which Faith? This is the core structural tension of modern Britain. As the British monarch, Charles holds these incredibly weighty 500-year-old titles, Supreme Governor of the Church of England and Fidei Defensor, or Defender of the Faith. And traditionally, that faith is very specifically Christianity.
Right, but he famously sees himself as a defender of all faiths in his realm. I mean, during his coronation, he even had the Archbishop of Canterbury modify the preamble to his oath. He specifically pledged that the established church would seek to foster an environment where people of all faiths and beliefs may live freely.
Which is super interesting when you compare his whole pluralistic approach to his heir, Prince William. Reports suggest William has a much more quiet faith and is definitely less instinctively comfortable in these overtly religious environments. It's true. Charles has this highly philosophical interfaith approach, whereas William's reluctance has already sparked serious debate in the UK about what will actually happen to the title of Supreme Governor when he eventually takes the throne. It's a looming PR and constitutional question for sure. Ultimately, the outrage over an unwritten Easter address and the wild internet rumors of a secret Muslim king highlight a really profound question. How does an ancient institution, deeply tethered to a specific Christian history, evolve to reflect a genuinely multicultural reality without alienating its base or losing its identity?
It's a complete tightrope walk, and we are literally watching them attempt it in real time. Thank you all for going down the rabbit hole with us on this explainer today. I'm Leo.
And I'm Maya. We'll see you next time.